wouldn't that just be an absolutely amazing thing that the church came and met with me with foster care struggles and these little children. And also there's lots of families who have adopted children, both domestic and internationally. If you're interested in doing that, there are people you can talk with about that. So you're not alone. If you're fearful or have questions, but yet there's something in you that says, that would be incredible, just come talk to one of us. We have a ministry here for you, Hope for Children, to find out about that. Sound good? Should sound good. Well, about 42 days ago, I got a call from my wife. And she said, you talked to your sister? And I said, no, I didn't talk to my sister yet. She said, you need to talk to your sister. And I don't talk to my sister that often. We have a good relationship. I don't talk to her that often. She said, you need to call her. I said, why do I need to call her? She said, something's happened to your dad. And I don't know if you received one of those calls yourself, but I feel the same way I felt when I heard that. So I said, okay, and I hung up because I could tell Jerusalem's not going to tell me what happened to my dad. And I called my sister. I didn't say hi. I didn't say hello. I just said, I said, Lisa, what happened to Dad? She said, calm down. I think he's having a stroke, and he's being rushed to the hospital right now, and we'll take care of him. And I don't know if you've received information in your life like that or anything similar to it. But I know that most of us have experienced the emotions and the feelings I was feeling. I had total unrest in that moment. My whole body went cold and shocked, just like I feel right now. I'm actually in a cold sweat just thinking about that day. And I was here in Greenville, South Carolina, and my dad and my mom, they live in South Florida, so if I got in the car right there, it would have been 10 hours. But it was Saturday night, and I had to do a wedding the next day on Sunday before I could even do anything. And I remember the moments when I went and did this wedding for a couple that I care for and love, and for their family that I was able to spend time worshiping with that day at the wedding ceremony. Every moment that I was performing that wedding and officiating, my mind was at unrest. The whole time just thinking about my dad. And it was just this turmoil. And so I actually was able to do the ceremony, and I didn't tell the wedding party except for the mom and dad that was going on because they prayed for me and just said, you're going to get through it, don't worry. They're basically saying, if you blow the ceremony and don't do a good job, we understand. It was one of those moments that they just lovingly said, it's okay, just get through this and then head on out of here. And I looked at the couple afterwards and I said, listen, I want to go to your reception and I want to celebrate with you, but right now I have this on my mind and it is just weighing on me heavily. I can't even partake of this great moment with you because my mind is elsewhere. And they said, go, get out of here. And then I was finally able to go be with my dad and sit with him in the hospital and watch him sleep in the hospital and watch him try to figure out what's wrong with him. And for my dad, I didn't tell the other two services this, but my dad is okay. He had such severe amounts of stress that he actually went into temporary amnesia, had no idea where he was or what was going on. You could explain it to him, and about a minute later, he looked at you and said, what am I doing here? And it became a little comical. It's kind of like if you've seen Finding Nemo, it's a little bit like Dory. So you'd say something to him, then you'd have to repeat the whole thing over again. So my brother said when we were in the hospital with him, he would kind of come to, and they'd tell him, and 60 seconds later, they'd be like, why am I in the hospital? And they would just laugh, and then they started teasing him a little bit and then making up stories. But he was a great sport about it. He actually started teasing us too, like, who are you? And he would mess with us a little bit. And so thankfully, my dad is okay and he's doing a lot better. Thank you for so many of you who prayed and were supporting us. You really felt that support. Have you guys ever felt a moment like that, though? A time of unrest where your mind just won't shut off. A lot of times it happens for us when we lay down in bed. And the mind just starts racing, all the things that are unfinished, or things we have to do, or things that have been done to us, and things that we're not sure about the future, whether it's your career or family, or a test result from some sort of thing that you're struggling with or dealing with, and waiting to see if the cancer is in remission or did it come back again. I know that we have dealt with those moments. And maybe the more appropriate question is when was the last time you dealt with unrest? Because I think all of us have in some way. And for some of you, probably the most relevant question is, when was the last time you actually experienced rest? Because you've been experiencing unrest for so long. I think the tendency is in our culture, especially the spiritual culture, religious culture, is that when we think and talk about unrest, sometimes we equate that and we look at that and we say, well, unrest is due to you not trusting God. You're not trusting God, and so since you're not trusting God, you're experiencing unrest in your mind. If you would just trust God, then you would be experiencing unrest. What I want to say to you is this. This is an important line. If you're taking notes, I encourage you to write this down. Unrest does not necessarily mean that you're unchristian. Unrest is not necessarily unchristian. Paul, we're going to see from our passage this morning, He was experiencing serious unrest, so much so that he didn't want to even stay in the place where he was, where effective ministry was happening, because his mind was elsewhere, and eventually he gave himself to what was going on in his mind, and he went there. So for some of you who are dealing with unrest currently, or have in the past, and I've lived long enough to know that you're going to face it at some point in the future, circumstances that test you and try you,